News dump. After an extended leave, look what the cat dragged in.
Hey, Gil. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mac. You've been back for roughly a week, so I think that you're rested up from your rest up vacation to now talk about nonsense.
I don't know. You would think I was having this thought actually over this past week. Most people, when they come back for a vacation, they're like, I'm rejuvenated, really needed that. When my vacation finished, I was like, you know what? I could do another like 2 weeks of vacation. Yeah, I had a good time. I don't know if I'm rejuvenated though.
I usually need a day or two after vacation to kind of get my life back in order.
It's like, what's that? Is it a Lana Del Rey song, Summertime Sadness? I got that summertime sadness.
I was going to say prima nocta. I was wrong.
I got that post-vacation blues where I'm like, man, I had so much fun. I wish I could do that all the time. I wish I didn't have to work at all. Goo.
I wish I didn't squish that fish, Mac. I guess what people want to know, though, is that we are coming hot off of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Even though Target, we've seen on TikTok, it's the same deals. People do want to know, Mac, did you buy anything cool?
Not one thing, nothing. Now, I haven't done any cool shopping on Black Friday or Cyber Monday in a few years. I'm at this point, Goo. You're dealing with this as well. Once you've been in the same place for a while, and you buy a lot of stuff, you don't have any more room for stuff. So unless you're like upgrading an electronics, so a laptop or TV or something like that, there's really not much to go out and buy.
Also, and hear me out, throughout the year, if I want something, I just buy it.
I'm sort of the same there. So unless like you have a kid though, did you get anything fun for the kid?
Say, having said that, I was at Target 6 a.m. Friday morning. I door busted.
Whoa.
It was me and one other guy. That's it. Deals weren't that good. The deals weren't that good.
Yeah. Remember the days of waiting outside for Madden at midnight or going at 6 a.m.? The last time I did that was maybe like 2015. And it was me and one other guy. And I was like, wow, I guess these days are over. We just buy them digitally now? Like, what happens?
There was also a hot second where a lot of stores, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, would start their Black Friday at midnight.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need to wait in line for this stuff. It must be good.
Right. And then everyone leaves with the same fucking TV that's like 10 years ago, maybe more than that. Like TVs were huge things where you'd save, I don't know, $500 on Black Friday. Now you can get a really reasonable TV for $300, so you're not waiting until Black Friday.
But also, there are deals throughout the year now. It's not just Black Friday. Like at the beginning of the football season, they have TV deals, or like at certain points of the year. So you're not just waiting for this one day. I also did hit Cyber Monday pretty hard. Me and my wife, we have been looking for a new mattress. And let me tell you this, deciding on a mattress might be tougher than deciding on a wife, deciding on to get married, because there are so many out there, and I'm all but certain they're all the same.
Yeah, they're probably more or less within like 10% of each other in terms of performance. I personally have had the same mattress now for 11 years, but I've changed out the foam topper a couple times. I'm a side/stomach sleeper. I don't know what that means in terms of buying mattresses, but a new foam topper every few years does it for me.
I have had my Bobapedic for over a dozen years. I feel bad because it's memory foam, so it's never going to forget what I did to it. So I have a kid now who jumps into the bed every single morning. He's 3 years old, so I needed edge support. I told him that. I'm like, look, I'm sleeping half on the bed, half off the bed every single day. I don't want to slide off. I'm all about edge support now. I got my mattress. I got a, what's it called here? An adjustable base, which I'm very excited about.
How do you mean?
So it goes under the mattress. It can either bring up your back so you can sit up and watch television,
so
or it raises up your feet.
The mattress flexes like that?
Yeah. It could also raise up your feet.
You guys spared no expense.
I spared no expense, although I did only pay half of what the original price was because I bartered with the gypsies.
I like that. I last bought my mattress from Sleepy's in Alston, which is no longer there. And it was like, I think I got it for like $400.
Yeah, I also did a big box store. And let me tell you this, mattress stores, when they have a ton of mattresses, you can talk them down.
Oh, yeah.
They want to get those off. Yeah.
Right.
They got inventory and they don't want it.
So, the adjustable base,
Yeah.
does both sides adjust at the same time?
Yeah. So both sides, it's not like one of those split ones. It's one
Yeah, yeah.
mattress. So yeah, head or feet. The feet are very
Shoulders, knees,
nice. It
and
takes
toes,
the weight
knees
off
and
your
toes.
back. I really like that. Also, it vibrates.
So the issue I have with those mattresses is being a stomach side sleeper.
Yes.
Those pluses to the mattress, the ability to raise and lower stuff doesn't really help me. That's more of like a back sleeper thing.
Well, no, I mean raising and lowering is just if you're sitting in bed and watching television.
Gotcha. Well, I have a friend actually who has such severe back issues that he has to sleep on his back with that
Mhm.
with the feet raised up. So he's got one of those real fancy ones.
Oh, he sleeps like a bat?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Michael Keaton also did that in 1989. So that's what we spent.
Good
That's
mattress
good for us.
Yeah.
Behold our stuff. I'm excited about my mattress. My back's been killing me. So
What size mattress did you get?
queen, it sucks. I wanted to move up to a king. My room isn't big enough. Would also
Yeah,
have to buy a completely new headboard and everything else. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
whole to
true.
do.
True.
I would love nothing more. If I could go back and tell 10 years ago, tell myself anything, I would say get a king size bed. Nothing else. I don't care about stocks or anything. Just king
Yeah.
size bed.
Don't buy Bitcoin. Get 2 king size mattresses.
Yeah. That's all I'd say.
I mean, you share a bed with someone, so it's different. Queen is good for me for one human.
I mean, you sleep in a race car bed, so
A massive queen race car. 2 people in a queen actually gets a little snug. Gets a little
it
snug.
gets snug. Especially
Yeah.
when it's 3 people on a queen, because my kid won't stop.
You gotta get that California king.
I would love nothing more than that. News down. All right, you put this in here. It's at the top of your news. Do whatever you want.
This was like a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. I was partying it up, relaxing on the white sands of Hawaii. Zack Snyder has this bullshit Rebel Moon movie coming out for Netflix.
Star Wars with sex.
Yep. And the whole thing has been he's got complete creative control over the whole thing. Netflix threw a bag at him here. Do what you want. Make 1, 2, 3 movies or whatever. This motherfucker has the audacity to make 2 versions of his movies. A PG-13 cut that's, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours. And then he's making an R-rated cut that's his extended director's cut. Motherfucker, that's not a director's cut. As one of our listeners aptly pointed out when I tweeted about this, it's not a director's cut when when the first edition of the movie you had full directorship over. This is so Zack Snyder, it hurts. Just give us the best version of the movie once. Don't give us 8 versions of the same movie. Don't Blade Runner this here. The first time you go to watch Blade Runner, it's the most confusing thing in the world because there's fucking 6 versions of Blade Runner. That's what he's doing here. Just give us one version, whether PG-13 or R. Give us one version of your movie. No one's forcing you to do 2.
I'd argue it's a great idea, and I respect it. He's a nice guy.
It's terrible. He's not making any more money. It's a finite amount of money he got from Netflix.
Look, I'm the Snyder fan on this show, and I say good for you, Zach.
Okay, sure.
News dump. Oh boy, looks like Dave Filoni has the job we assumed he already had, and he might have already had this, but now it's official. He is the pretty much creative officer is what they call it. It's kind of what James Gunn does with DC. It's a little less than what Feige does, but he now has his hands in every Star Wars property.
Which he did anyways, but this is one of those things. Sometimes you see it often with sports teams where but doesn't actually get promoted to that spot. Belichick's done it a couple times. They're finally giving him and probably paying him what he's supposed to be paid because he has had his hand in everything. Because once again, he's like the walking encyclopedia of Star Wars. You don't make anything in Star Wars without consulting Dave Filoni. So,
could you imagine? Because he's so meticulous, having him as your boss and just getting more like notes back every single time. They're like, he wants us to name the fucking ladybug now.
I just keep getting more droids. Why does he want more droids?
And he wants very specific names for all of these. But they can't be this. He said no to this. Speaking of Star Wars, speaking of Filoni, he should know the answer to this. News dump. While speaking at, I believe, San Francisco Comic-Con Fan Expo, Katie Sackhoff, she said that she believes there is no romance between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin, And then she pondered, can Mandalorians even have sex? Suggesting that they might have to be by the living waters and just constantly redeeming themselves. And maybe if they just leave their helmets on, who knows?
So this is, I mean, it seems rather obvious here. Like, of course they could have sex. They're just like, they're fucking. They're not making love. There's no kissing going on here, you know?
Well,
There's
they're
nothing
banging
in
helmets. They're just
there's,
slamming helmets.
there's nothing in Mandalorian lore that you can't take your clothes off. It's just a helmet thing. So they're walking around nude from the chest down. I think that that's probably like a Mandalorian couple probably takes their helmets off to each other, but maybe as a part of the relationship, they don't feel like they need to be redeemed. But surely Mandalorians are fucking. I mean, it's all that, you know, when you go to battle with someone and you return and you've won a nice battle, of course you're gonna fuck afterwards.
I could also imagine now that Dave Filoni's in charge. So, like, let's say Katie Sackhoff, she does her, she does her audition for the character, and then she sits back and he's like, "Okay, do you have any questions?" Yeah, just quick. It's dawned on me. How would these two characters bang? And Dave Filoni just sits back in his chair. I'm glad you asked.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Pulls out like a chart.
He's got a storyboard.
Yeah. It's like these two types of characters, they can't go together. But these two over here, yes, they can. News down. Big casting news for Superman Legacy. We know who our Lex Luthor is, and it is the chisel-faced Nicolas Hoult.
Yeah, I think this is really good casting. Nicolas Hoult is a very good actor, and we last saw him in Renfro earlier this year. I think he has an ability.
Not Hunter Renfro. Cannon for an arm.
We last saw
or
him
he's a great slot receiver. I don't know which one you're talking about.
We last saw him playing slot receiver for the Vegas Raiders. I think Nicolas Hoult has an incredible ability to dial in his like facial acting, which we talk about with certain actors sometimes, and I think that'll be huge for Lex Luthor. So I'm a big fan of this casting.
We also got that Skylar Gizondo?
I don't know. I'm glad you had to say it first.
I almost said Gizmodo, which is not correct. There's no
Gizondo.
N in there.
I'm going to say Gizondo.
As Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, if you don't know who this is, if you Google him, you'll immediately recognize him. You've seen him in something. Now, this is like perfect casting. He looks exactly like Jimmy Olsen anyways.
Sarah Sampaio as Eve Taskmacher.
Taskmacher?
I'm looking forward to this movie to learn these names.
She's playing Lex Luthor's assistant, and apparently she's meaningful in the comics. She's meaningful to us because she's very attractive.
Yeah. I also just finished, and we'll talk about this more on Thursday or Friday when we do our What Have You Been Watching Lately. I just finished season 4 of Harley Quinn. It is a big Lex Luthor season, so I am super into it right now.
Okay. All right.
News down. Is this news? Is this news, Mac? Because this is all over social media, and people were going nuts about it yesterday, being like, see, he doesn't care. But it came out, I don't know who he was talking to, but Taika Waititi said that he took the Thor job for financial reasons.
Two things. First of all, this is definitely at least partially true. Second of all, Taika Waititi is a massive troll. So most of the internet doesn't understand with it. He's purposefully fucking with you. Every time he talks about a Star Wars movie, he's fucking with you. So part of this is to purposefully piss people off. That said, no doubt he took it for financial reasons. At a certain point as a director, you want to make a lot of money so that you don't have to direct as many movies.
My hand is up. Can I talk?
You go.
In any line of work, you want to be paid.
I just talked about not wanting to work ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, he said that he had no interest in doing those movies, but I was poor, and I thought, you know what? That would be a great opportunity to feed my children.
And moreover, I made this point on the internet, Q. I actually think it was this attitude going into the movie that saved Thor, because he was such a boring, too true to the comic type of character. And Taika was able to break the character free of that mold, and it worked out tremendously.
He added, Thor, let's face it, is probably the least popular franchise. I never read the Thor comics as a kid.
No one did.
But then he said, I looked at him like, oh, these are kind of confusing, and I like that. So that's not news. I don't understand people jumping on both sides of it. Yeah. Like,
It's
A
like,
guy
oh,
took a
yeah.
job for money? What the fuck?
What? And did a great job? What?
Yeah. Like, say what you want about Love and Thunder. I understand some people don't like it. But the first one, Ragnarok, is like top 4 MCU.
Would you take Love and Thunder over Thor 1 and Thor 2?
I would take it over Thor 1. I mean, obviously over 2. Yeah, I would take it over both. But
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I also like Thor
Enough
1.
said. Enough said, though. Yeah, of course. Like Thor 1 and the first Captain America are both fine, starter kits. Love and Thunder, you take over both those movies every day of the week.
News down. Also from the MCU, from Kelsey Grammer, who I don't know what he's doing. Let's say he was doing a radio show where he was helping people with their problems.
Okay.
And he said that he's confident you will see his Beast again. And I quote, I see him as an extraordinary character, a real character of gravitas and importance in our culture. I didn't hit a button. That was me.
For some reason, in my head, I'm okay if Kelsey Grammer is voicing Beast, the CGI Beast that we saw in spoiler the Marvel's post credits. I'm okay with him coming back as the Beast, but him in practical makeup for the Beast doesn't look great. CGI Beast looked awesome though.
News down. John Hamm was speaking to Screen Rant, and of course, in the past, he has been linked to Mr. Sinister, but he was very much into praising Marvel Studios and the comics and was kind of lobbying for a Doctor Doom job.
So, if the Pedro Pascal casting news is real for Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards, the John Hamm for Doctor Doom would make more sense. They got to be about the same age. They got to be co-worker type situation, at least from what I know about Doctor Doom and his genesis.
I'm gonna say genitalia, because if it's genitalia, they match. Hamm's got a hammer.
We're at the point in the MCU though where they are able to introduce older characters without having to explain where they've been because of a multiverse situation. But I would prefer a bit younger for Doom, a bit younger for Mr. Fantastic.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Thank you. The floor is mine. I've seen people arguing this on social media that they're not thrilled with the big name or the big name casting of these characters. Do you want them to get back to the basics of getting the unknowns?
Yeah, it's almost I'm in between both. I want so maybe there's a bad example based on what he's gone through the last couple of years, but like Jonathan Majors, for example, is someone we all know, but he wasn't a mega star, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like that level of casting, the in between where we know that person from something, but they're not super, they're not John Hamm level. That said, it hurts a little bit when you cast because he's so known for Mad Men. When someone's so known for one role,
Doom's gonna be smoking cigarettes the entire time.
I think when they're so known for one role, it hurts them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're super mega popular and you know them for 15, then casting them doesn't hurt as much.
Also linked to the role, and I saw this from that shitty Twitter handle, like I Shine, whatever it is. There's the one that constantly throws out MCU news, and actually now when they tweet things out, it says most things tweeted from this account are not real. So credit to them. Right. They have linked Cillian Murphy as well.
Yeah, that Cillian Murphy can do whatever he wants at this point. You could tell me he'd be acting as a tree, and I'd be like, yeah, he'll do a good job.
What kind of tree?
Yeah, this is the next Groot.
News down. Oh boy, Mac. Mark Hamill also at San Fran Expo. I probably should have had this with the DC stuff at the top, but I accidentally moved some Marvel stuff in between. But he said, and he reiterated this because he did say this back when Kevin Conroy passed away, I believe about a year ago, that he would no longer be the Joker in any animated DC properties. And I quote, without Batman, crime has no punchline.
It's a nice homage to his longtime friend, Kevin Conroy, and I appreciate this. However, I don't believe him. I think at some point he's probably going to voice the Joker again.
I think it depends on if they do any more Arkham games, but they've kind of stopped those.
Yeah. I just feel like money talks, and at some point someone's going to want him back, and they'll throw
money out.
Money
out. I think he has money.
I don't know. Enough to never work again?
I think he likes to work, though.
He's one of them types.
Yeah, he's one of those types. He likes to work.
Yeah, gross.
News down. Got our first look at the Penguin from the HBO Max Penguin show. And can you tell me what's different?
I haven't noticed anything different. I just sort of forgot this series was happening, so I'm excited that this is going to bridge the gap a little bit between the Batman.
It looks a
and
little
the Batman
slimmer.
2. I hope we get some real breadcrumbs. There's some real, we talked about this when the Marvel show started, having some real consequences play out on the small screen that affect the big screen. So I'm hoping that's the case with this show.
Yeah, I'm also hoping for this show to introduce some smaller Gotham bad guys that maybe you wouldn't use in a movie.
Yep, that'll be a perfect spot for it.
But better than what Gotham did, the Fox show, because that one didn't make any sense because all these villains were showing up and there was no Batman yet.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense at all.
News down. Got a Scream 7 shakeup. Mac is all over this Melissa Barrera firing. Do you want to get into? Want to get Polly charged?
Listen, number one, Melissa Barrera is very attractive, so I am fond of looking at her on my screens. Number two, for the most part, like 90%, I don't really care what celebrities or anyone has to say about political or world issues, and so I don't really care if someone who I disagree with or has said a bad thing once is in a movie or makes music. It doesn't bother me. If the music or the show or the movie is good, that's all I care about. Now, there is a certain point where you cross a line where you're like, okay, I don't think this person should be working at all. And I don't think she's at that point. I think this is completely reactionary. It's buzzworthy for the studio to try to save face, even though no one was calling for her to be removed from Screen 7. This was just, I don't know. They like being in the news, I guess.
Either way, all of her social media, Instagram stories, they're all over the internet. You can see what she said and make your own mind up. Yeah. She is out. Jenna Ortega also out, but she said that she had been trying to get out since the actor strike ended before the whole Barrera thing. So it's not like, she's on her side. It's just that she didn't want to do the movie anyways. I think there's scheduling issues with Wednesday.
She should just get out of those things altogether because she's going to be typecasted forever if she doesn't. But I believe she did say that part of her getting out was to support Barrera. I think this was just like the straw that broke the camel's back for her.
So what the franchise is going to try and do is say, hey, remember these guys back here? Nev Campbell and Patrick Dempsey. They're going to try and bring those guys back after they've already fucked Campbell and said, we're not going to pay you money.
Hear me out. Yeah. Maybe we don't need another Scream movie. Maybe we can be done with these.
Yeah. Maybe. Or bring Dewey back. He's doing all right?
You could see them, and they've already talked about requels in the Scream franchise. You could see them going back. I think Keeve mentioned this when we were chatting about it. Just completely getting rid of all the sequels and going back to like Scream 2 or Scream 3. And
before Randy dies, yeah.
Yeah, like none of this ever happened.
It was all a hypothetical that Randy was taught. This has all been a story that Randy's been telling. News down. Christopher Nolan said recently that he is out on making a James Bond movie. His schedule does not allow.
Yeah, at least the next Bond movie. There was some specific wording in there. I'm a little bummed about this, but I also want Christopher Nolan to just make whatever movie he wants to make. But I think what would draw me and you into Bond and make us maybe Bondage boys is Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, Nolan Bond. Nolan was also speaking to someone recently, and I can't put my finger on it because it's not in the rundown, and I only know how to read scripts. But he was talking about, someone asked him, they gave him the old Martin Scorsese question of, how do you feel about superhero movies? And he made the point of like, well, you need big tentpole movies to fund the smaller movies.
For sure. Yep.
It's very level-headed.
Yeah.
Very simple. And granted, he's also done 3 of them, so maybe he's just covering his own ass. But still, he's just,
You need movies that are going to make a movie studio $500 million so that they can fund, the $30 million projects. That's what these days, like the small projects still need 20, 30, $40 million. So it's not like they can just it's really hard to make a movie on a budget these days. So you need those tentpoles. He's right.
You need big tentpole movies to give $250 million to, say, a Martin Scorsese to only get you $40 million back. That was an unnecessary shot, and I'm sorry for saying that.
Hey, listen, we loved Killers of the Flower Moon, but it did not make much money.
News down. Speaking of Nolan, on the set of his Oppenheimer movie, Alden Ehrenreich told Vanity Fair that Robert Downey Jr. is the nicest A-lister he's ever worked with. They met, they had dinner, they had a great time.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. has been through a lot in his life, so he strikes me as someone that is like really enjoying living his life now, especially since he went from D-lister 15 years ago to back to the A-list. So I think he's really appreciative for what he has, and I think he's also wise in his old age now and can actually help out younger actors. So I think that's what Alden Ehrenreich's sort of talking about here.
They even went on a road trip.
Now that's a little much. I don't want to do a road trip.
Vacation's all I ever wanted. Vacation had to get away.
Didn't RDJ do that road trip movie with Galifianakis? What was that called?
Yes. Was that one Due Date?
That might be Due Date.
Yeah. That could have been a lot better. That wasn't bad, though.
It wasn't bad. I agree. It wasn't
News
bad.
dump. What is this?
Shime time! If anyone who knows Chris Shime, as a fringe member of the DSG here, he pops up every now and then. This is big news for him. There's a live-action Naruto movie in the works at Lionsgate. Now, if you don't know what Naruto is, it's that anime property where the person wears the silver headband. That's
and
what I
run
know.
With their hands behind them, like
and they
this,
run,
right?
and more notably, Shime does that run with the hands behind his back. So this is big news for Shime time this week.
News down. Bourne Again, Mac?
Ooh, good. This is huge for me because I love the Bourne movies. The original Bourne trilogy is one of my probably 3 or 4 favorite trilogies ever. I even loved the Jeremy Renner Bourne movie. Now, the 5th movie was just fine, Jason Bourne. But a new Bourne movie is in development, and the expectation is that they're gonna get Matt Damon to return and reprise the role of Jason Bourne. I don't know if I necessarily love that because they've told so many stories, but I love the Bourne franchise so much that I'll give this a chance.
Is there any chance that they get you to play Bourne?
No. Like I said, Goo, I don't want to work ever.
I was gonna say,
although maybe this is the role.
They're like, Bourne, you just had a week vacation. What do you mean you want 2 more weeks off?
Maybe this is the role that I get that I won't have to work ever again.
The president's in peril. He should be fine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Fine.
Call me back.
News dump. That was big news for you. This is big news for me. Beetlejuice 2, Willem Dafoe told Variety he's playing a dead person, a B-level action star who is now an afterlife detective.
I could get on board with this.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make Beetlejuice 2, make it fucking bizarre, and this is trending in that direction.
You need to make it as weird as possible. I would say even make it more like the animated show where it was all afterlife, all weird characters, everything else, because I do love the 1988 movie, but it takes a while to get going. And Beetlejuice is only in like 13 minutes of the movie.
They need to do into the Beetleverse type of thing where spend almost no time in our regular universe and get into this afterlife stuff.
News dump. All right, that'll do it for this news dump. We will get to you at the end of the week for what have you been watching. I know we both have a big old list. Maybe we cut it in half because it's a very, very large list.
Yeah,
and we
quite
need
a bit
content.
of movies. Yeah,
we need content.
Yeah.
So, what?
I was going to say, is there a movie on that list that you're excited to talk about?
I really like The Killer.
The Killer was good.
But I don't know how much of a talker it is.
I was annoyed when the movie was over, but I enjoyed the runtime, if that makes sense.
I also just like a slow, methodical, tense Michael Fassbender movie.
Yeah. Goo, you know what was my biggest disappointment on the year so far? And I mean this wholeheartedly. Bottoms looked like it was going to be really, really funny, and it was not.
I have not seen Bottoms yet. I would say that Strays is the worst thing I've seen all year.
I didn't say Bottoms was the worst thing I've seen all year. Just biggest disappointment.
Okay.
Biggest disappointment.
So check us out at the end of the week. Also, next week, we've got a cool episode coming up, and I'm not sure how to tease it, so I'm not going to. News dump!